The answer is dozens, and it'll depend in part on who submits an application and how they're allocated, but we're going to have city staff run a process, as the Minister's implied, that will have a combination of Toronto community housing buildings and other social housing providers apply for this money to do the retrofits that are spoken about, and I guess depending on how that's allocated, but it will be dozens of towers. You know, we're not, and it's towers, so in that sense it's big projects that will affect a lot of people, a lot of apartments, and a lot of energy consumption, and should therefore save a lot of money going forward.
Commissioner, do you have a sense of what these retrofits will actually do for the quality of life day to day for the people in these units? So it'll save the city money. What's the benefit to the tenants?
Well, I will answer that by alluding back to what I said. I mean, it is, you know, a lot of people will say, you know, well, what's the benefit going to be if you're living there? Well, I mean, I think a lot of people, you know, out there who live in their own homes or apartments understand that when you have drafty windows, it isn't just a matter that energy is flying out the window, and that's bad for the environment and bad for your bills, but that it's an uncomfortable way to live. And I think so if you look at windows, which will be a major component of these kinds of retrofits, this is going to, I think, make a significant difference in that kind of an area, which I don't think any of us can, you know, sort of brush off as being insignificant. But beyond that, you know, the cost of energy, which is well in excess of what it should be in these buildings that are 50 and 60 years old. By addressing this and solving the problem of drafty windows, you are also going to make more money available to whoever is running those buildings, whether it's a social housing provider in the nonprofit sector or Toronto Community Housing. And that will hopefully then allow other aspects of the quality of life in those buildings to be addressed, whether it's the elevators, whether it's the cleaning. You know, so this is going to be of benefit in that respect as well, to improve the overall quality of life. But things that are going to affect people directly, better kinds of heating. Again, I've been in many of these buildings over time, and some of the old heating systems produce heat where it's either 85 degrees, you know, in the apartment, or it's 55. And there seems to be no way to sort of really taking these obsolete, archaic systems and having manageable, livable, humane heating. So I think it will have a real impact on people's lives in those apartments going forward.
It's called our two-temperature policy. You know, it's either too darn hot or too darn cold.
Right.
I think this is for the mayor. It talks about these funds will be select local projects through a competitive process. Can you explain how are you're going to ask social providers to compete against each other?
Well, it's not the competitive. Simply means, David, that it's a fair process in that there are obviously likely to be more towers that would like to have some of this money than there is money available. As much as I'm not trying to say that the amount today isn't significant, it is. It's $43 million. So we're just simply saying that everybody would be eligible in the Toronto community housing sector and the social housing sector to put forward proposals to retrofit. And not everybody will have such a proposal, but many will. Probably more than the money that's available if you want to fund entire projects, as opposed to saying, well, we'll give you 20% of what you need. So the competition part is simply to say it's going to be objective. It will be done by city staff, not by politicians, and it will involve trying to assess the projects that are put forward on the basis of the bang for the buck, as it were, to make sure you're getting the maximum that you can for the money that we've been given.
And how soon do you see these projects beginning?
Well, I think the intention of the government, and certainly mine, because one of the other things I didn't mention, I think, again, Minister Murray made reference to it, this will also create jobs. And so I think if you want to improve the living conditions, start to conserve energy, start to save money, and start to create some jobs, I would like to see work underway. And when we were sitting with the federal minister, I can tell you that our housing advocate, Councillor Hannah Bilow, said she had projects, and I know Toronto Community Housing does, where they could put their application in tomorrow morning. And so assuming this competitive process can happen relatively quickly and that will allow others to get caught up and then make the decisions quickly, I'm very anxious, and I know the government would be as well, that we would have this money being put to work this year for sure. And I don't mean at the last day of the year, I mean a lot sooner. And I know the federal government, with respect to different monies they're allocating to this, wants to see this money put to work now, so that it can also provide another benefit beyond environmental, beyond living conditions, beyond saving money, which is to get jobs going in the community for all the people doing this work.
I think that this is going to allow you to sort of get to the repairs more quickly, but you can imagine it might be frustrating for some people who have ceilings falling in when you come in to replace their window, and they're saying, well, check out what's going on up here. What do you say to those people who are waiting for these repairs, these specific repairs, and we're doing energy retrofits? I
would say to them that you have to take this all as a package, and we are dedicating $250 million this year as a city to doing the broader range of repairs, including some energy retrofitting. The federal government has come forward and said they're going to, we don't know the amount yet, but they're going to devote a significant amount of money that we could apply to those other repairs that you make reference to. And in this case, this allows us $43 million to apply to energy retrofitting, which is important in the context of living conditions, but also the environmental benefits it will have, and that I think this should all be taken together as good news. Not enough good news yet, but good news nonetheless, because we are fixing these buildings and they haven't been fixed for decades, and now they're going to be fixed with the help of both of the other governments and a substantial contribution from Toronto taxpayers.
Just